Hey guys, I just wanted to address something that kind of upset me. It was kind of a while ago, and I've been meaning to get around a video about this thing that occurred that really upset me. It didn't really upset me, but it kind of made me like um, question people, question people's logic. Anyways, I was reading my comments on that I get on my video, and this one in particular was on my A Song of Ice and Fire video, the George R. R. Martin's book review, and someone called Schmecker929, I don't know how to say the name, and it doesn't really matter, but he left a comment saying, Tolkien's not dark fantasy. I made it through about 25 seconds of this, and he left me that comment because in a particular video I make a general statement saying if Tolkien's the father of fantasy, then George R. R. Martin's the father of dark fantasy. And that was just, my opinion on, me actually complimenting Tolkien. So this brought up the subject, me saying, is Tolkien dark fantasy? That's what this subject definitely boils down to, because everyone I asked does not consider Tolkien dark fantasy. And I'm wondering what this guy's logic was and why he had to add that little extra comment that, oh, I lasted about 25 seconds of this, like my video wasn't worth watching because he didn't agree with my opinion. And in fact, I was praising Tolkien by calling him the father of fantasy when that is definitely a debatable topic, because Homer, who did the Iliad and the Odyssey, would have more, of that title than Tolkien would, because he came before Tolkien. But still, I gave Tolkien that high honor of considering him father of fantasy. So anyways, I went to this guy, Schmerker. I left him a comment. I left him a message asking him to explain why Tolkien was dark fantasy. But he never did. And yes, he has been on YouTube since then, because I've checked. Anyways, the point is, if you're gonna make like a statement and like add like a little comment that's meant to like hurt, or a comment that's meant to like make people question what they do, or just an unnecessary hurtful comment, and while it might not seem very hurtful, it was like, this is what I do, and that wasn't necessary. And on top of the fact, you can't even back yourself up by telling me why Tolkien is considered dark fantasy, which he's not. Anyway, so let me get to the topic, which is Tolkien dark fantasy? Now, this is why I don't consider Tolkien dark fantasy, because while there are dark elements, he has very evil characters. While there are battles and there are, just emotional characters, it's not dark fantasy, because it's good versus bad, and good always wins. That's not a dark fantasy. In a dark fantasy, like George R. R. Martin's a perfect example, there's a blurred line between good and bad. There is no necessarily good and evil. There's just humanity and humans and the way they act. And in Tolkien, it's obvious who the bad guys are, and it's obvious who the good guys are. They have their stance, and they take their stand on the good side or the bad side, and good always wins. So that's why Tolkien is not dark fantasy. And on top of that, George R. R. Martin has elements like rape, gore, treachery, and while there is a little bit of deception in Tolkien's world, it's not like this. It's not dark like this. That is why Tolkien is not dark fantasy. And don't get me wrong, I love Tolkien with a passion, and we all do. All fantasy lovers love Tolkien. And for you to like say a statement and not back yourself up, that makes me really mad. Plus you added like a unnecessary comment. Now, I have respect for everyone and everyone's opinion. And you can tell me the sky's green, and as long as you have a reason to believe the sky's green, even though I don't agree with you, I respect your opinion. But some people, I guess, just like to add hurtful little comments or smart little remarks that make no sense and don't even have the balls to back themselves up. So I just gave you a good logical reason why Tolkien was not considered dark fantasy, at least not in my head, and why George R. R. Martin is. There's a big difference between a dark fantasy and a like regular, very classic fantasy. And that was not one of them. I hate this. Like when I put my arm up, it's all bright and you can see my face. But like this, you can't. Anyways, so if you consider Tolkien dark fantasy, please let me know why, because I really don't know why. I've never considered Tolkien dark fantasy, and everybody I've asked doesn't consider Tolkien dark fantasy, so I would very much like to know what are these dark elements in Tolkien's world that makes Tolkien a dark fantasy writer, because I didn't get that. I didn't get that at all. And so if somebody actually has, you know, the reasoning, the logic to back themselves up for why they think Tolkien is dark fantasy, I would very much like to know. Because you got George R. R. Martin, and where you don't know who's an evil character and who's a good character. In Tolkien's world, the bad character is obviously embraces his dark side, and the bad characters either look hideous or they wear dark clothing, and it's very easy to tell, or like there's a dark aura around these dark characters. It's very easy to tell who the dark or the evil person is. The books let you know that through the context, and that's why Tolkien isn't a dark fantasy, because you know who's the bad guy and you know who's the good guys, and good always wins. So that's what happens in Tolkien, and that's what happens in most fantasy, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody knows that, you know, the dark guy always gives off this bad aura. It's just in a dark fantasy that line between good and evil is like blurred, and it's almost non-existent, because you have honorable people doing bad things for the name of love, honor, survival, and then you have bad or evil characters doing good things for those same reasons. And that's what makes a good dark fantasy, is that, you know, blur between the two elements, good and evil. And in Tolkien's world and all those other fantasies that are not considered dark, they do that too. The dark guy is always known, and the good guys always win. So that's, sometimes a good guy dies every now and again, but that still doesn't make it a dark fantasy. That just makes it a tragedy. So I don't understand. So if anyone can explain this reasoning to me, please do. I would very much appreciate it, because I love when people debate with me. You never know, I might change my mind about my stance on things. So yeah, I've been waiting to get on that. So is Tolkien dark fantasy? Come on, is Tolkien dark fantasy? I don't think so. Is George R. R. Martin dark fantasy? Definitely. Like, wow, it gets pretty dark. You mean, you got all sorts of bad things going on in there. So yeah, but we all love Tolkien. We all love George R. R. Martin, you know. They're both great writers. They're both fantastic fantasy writers, and I like them both. And I was giving Tolkien very high honor by claiming him as the father of fantasy. I don't know what's up with people these days. So thanks for listening to my rant. I know it wasn't long, because Tolkien is pretty basic to figure out why he's not considered dark fantasy, and George R. R. Martin is blatantly dark, so that's pretty easy to figure out too. So please tell me your thoughts. I know I've repeated myself a great many times, but simple as that. And people, I guess, they just don't know how to back themselves up, and I will gladly debate with you any day, and I respect your opinion. I'm not going to say anything rude to you, or, you know, I'll just let you know whether I agree or disagree, and we could have a battle of words. That's always fun, you know. Who cares? People disagree every day. So thank you for your time. Please let me know your thoughts on the topic. I would very much like to know. Thank you. Bye.